Are Western nations being pushed out of Africa? One after another, these nations are being expelled, and now the U.S. has finally decided to withdraw from its last military base in Niger.
Over the past decade, U.S. troops have trained Niger's forces and supported partner-led counterterrorism missions against Islamic State and Al-Qaeda in the region.
When it gets to the building, we drop it down to 240.
The U.S. Department of Defense and the Nigerian Ministry of National Defense recognize the sacrifices made by both nations' forces.
However, they didn't leave without a warning, claiming that Niger will regret its decision. But isn't it more accurate to say that the West will regret exploiting Africa? They will eventually crave genuine partnership. Yet, their desire for a master-slave dynamic persists, so perhaps it's no surprise. But the question remains, will they attempt to return? Let's find out. The U.S. has finally decided to give Niger space, which Niger has been asking for years. The recent transfer of the U.S. military base in Niger to the junta marks a significant shift in the country's geopolitical and security landscape. This decision, formalized through an agreement between the U.S. Department of Defense and Niger's Ministry of Defense, comes against the setting of considerable political changes in Niger. The departure of U.S. forces from Airbase 201, along with the earlier withdrawal from Airbase 101, represents a broader trend of reconfiguring military engagements in Africa. But let's not forget how hard it was to make the U.S. leave. The only justification they gave for not leaving was that they cared about Africa. But why care has always come with exploitation.
You're lacking for security at this point, unless you have your own private security situation set up in a place like as far away as, outside of Agadez, where a lot of the uranium is. You're operating blindly up there.
If the goal of the U.S. was to save Niger from threats, why does it come with strings attached? Who are they even trying to fool? The U.S. leaving after all this is a time for Niger to celebrate its sovereignty. So, let's talk about what this withdrawal means for Niger. The transfer of Airbase 201 to Nigerian authorities represents a profound assertion of national sovereignty. This decision is not just a logistical or strategic shift, but a significant political statement in the context of Niger's recent military coup. The issue of foreign military presence has deep roots in Africa's colonial past. During the colonial era, foreign powers established military bases that symbolized control and exploitation. The post-independence period saw many African nations striving to expel colonial powers and assert their sovereignty. The removal of foreign military bases has been a symbol of reclaiming control over national resources and affairs. For example, the end of the French military presence in Algeria in 1962 was a milestone in the country's journey toward full sovereignty. On July 26, 2023, General Abdourahmane Tiani's military coup removed President Mohamed Bazoum and dissolved the constitution. This event, while controversial, underscored a significant shift in Niger's political landscape. The junta's demand for the removal of U.S. forces aligns with its broader agenda to assert control over the country's political and military affairs. This move can be seen as a manifestation of a desire to reclaim national control and resist perceived foreign interference.
But again, I'm going to keep emphasizing, the reason this is happening is because there is a disrespect for the Africans. There is a general feeling that we don't need to hear from the Africans. Their opinions do not matter. That wherein lies the problem. Why were the Africans not consulted? Why were the Africans not part of an agenda? Why was there not even an agenda like what happened during the FOCAC meeting with China? Those are some basic issues. No head of state. President Biden would not pick up and go to meet with any other leader in the world without an agenda. That simply doesn't happen.
Right.
So what makes the US think that they can engage African leaders without an agenda? Come to Washington, let me tell you what I want to do for you. Come to Washington, let me tell you what you need to do in your countries.
If the United States truly aims to support Africa in addressing insurgencies and fostering stability, a fundamental question arises. Why hasn't it engaged with African nations to understand their perspectives on how they wish to be safeguarded? Effective and respectful intervention requires collaboration and input from the communities directly affected. Imposing military bases or intervention strategies without seeking local input not only risks undermining the sovereignty of African nations but also may fail to address the root causes of conflict. Building military bases or deploying forces unilaterally can be perceived as intrusive and may exacerbate existing tensions. The U.S. must approach its involvement with a mindset of partnership rather than dominance. By consulting with African leaders, communities, and experts, the U.S. could better align its strategies with the needs and preferences of those on the ground. This collaborative approach would demonstrate respect for local sovereignty and ensure that interventions are both effective and supported by the people they are intended to help. Now the question is, how does the withdrawal of U.S. forces affect regional stability and security in the Sahel? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. For that, we first need to understand what the security conditions are in Niger. Niger, grappling with profound security challenges, has embarked on a strategy to bolster its security and address the pervasive threats of terrorism and instability. In recent years, the country has substantially increased its security expenditure as a percentage of its GDP, reflecting a commitment to strengthening its military and police forces. This significant investment has focused on upgrading the training, equipment, and overall capabilities of Niger's security personnel. Such enhancements are designed to enable a more robust and effective response to the diverse and evolving threats faced by the nation. The Nigerian military has been actively engaged in operations against terrorist groups, particularly in the volatile border regions with Mali, Burkina Faso, and Nigeria. These areas are often hotspots for violent activities, and Niger's efforts to combat terrorism in these regions are critical to stabilizing the broader Sahel region. In addition to domestic operations, the government has sought to collaborate with international partners, including France and the United States, to strengthen its counterterrorism efforts. This collaboration has been integral to Niger's security strategy. Now, this was the actual situation, and what the U.S. has to say about its involvement amid Niger's efforts for security. They say the Sahel region, including Niger, is one of the most volatile areas in Africa, grappling with significant security challenges. The U.S. military presence, including bases like Air Base 201, played a crucial role in regional counterterrorism efforts. The departure of these forces introduces a new layer of uncertainty and potential risk for regional stability. The Sahel has been experiencing heightened instability with insurgent groups. The regions of Tillabéri and Difa have seen a surge in attacks, contributing to widespread insecurity and humanitarian crises. The U.S. thinks its withdrawal of forces from Niger raises concerns about whether the Nigerian military can effectively counter these threats on its own. They say the absence of U.S. forces could create a security vacuum that extremist groups might exploit. The surge in violence and instability could be exacerbated by the reduced international military presence, potentially leading to more frequent and severe attacks. This scenario poses risks not only for Niger, but also for neighboring countries that are part of the broader Sahel region. The impact of the base transfer on regional security will depend significantly on the responses from neighboring countries and regional organizations. Nations like Chad, Burkina Faso, and Mali will need to enhance their security cooperation and possibly seek new forms of support to address the growing threats. Regional bodies such as ECOWAS might also play a role in coordinating collective security efforts to stabilize the region. But the U.S., even after leaving, are still worried about Niger? To fully understand the U.S. stance, it's essential to recognize Africa's strategic importance on the global stage. The continent is rich in natural resources, including oil, minerals, and precious metals, which are crucial for various global industries. Africa also holds significant geopolitical value due to its strategic location, which affects global shipping routes and military positioning. For the U.S., maintaining a presence in Africa has been about ensuring access to these resources and securing strategic advantages in a region that is increasingly becoming a focal point for global power dynamics. The U.S. involvement in Africa has often been driven by a combination of economic interests and geopolitical strategies. Historically, American foreign policy in Africa has been influenced by a desire to counterbalance the influence of other global powers, such as China and Russia, which have been expanding their presence and influence in the region. As these global dynamics shift, the U.S. has sought to protect and expand its interests, which include ensuring stable access to resources and maintaining a strategic military presence.
To be honest with you, if I'm to speak the truth, I hope a lot of heads of states don't come, because it is an insult. It is an abuse of the African leaders. It's a disrespect of the African leaders.
The withdrawal of U.S. forces or a reduction in American influence in Niger is seen by many analysts as a potential threat to these broader objectives. When Niger decided to reassess its relationship with the U.S. and reduce its military footprint, it not only signaled a shift in its policy, but also impacted U.S. strategic calculations. The U.S. views such shifts as a direct challenge to its regional influence, which could undermine its ability to exert control and pursue its interests. While for the U.S. this decision solely does not benefit them, how about Niger? The transfer of the U.S. military base has far-reaching economic and strategic implications for Niger. Hosting foreign military bases involves substantial costs, including infrastructure maintenance and logistical support. The transfer of Airbase 201 might reduce these costs, potentially allowing Niger to redirect resources to other critical areas, such as development and infrastructure. Niger's strategic location in the Sahel makes it a key player in regional security and international geopolitics. With the U.S. military's departure, Niger will need to reassess its defense strategy and explore new alliances. This could involve strengthening partnerships with neighboring countries or seeking new agreements with emerging global powers such as China or Russia, which have shown increasing interest in the region. Now the question is, how does the transfer of the base influence Niger's international relations and diplomatic stance? The departure of U.S. forces from Niger marks a significant shift in the country's international relations. This change affects Niger's diplomatic ties with Western nations and has broader implications for its role in the global arena. The base transfer represents a substantial change in U.S.-Niger relations. While it may lead to a reduction in direct military cooperation, it also presents an opportunity for Niger to redefine its relationship with the United States. This could involve exploring new forms of partnership, such as economic aid or diplomatic support, to maintain positive relations despite the withdrawal of military forces. Niger's relationships with neighboring countries and regional organizations will also be influenced by the base transfer. The junta's approach to regional diplomacy will be crucial in shaping collaborative security and development efforts. Enhanced cooperation with neighboring countries and regional bodies like ECOWAS will be essential for managing the security transition and addressing shared challenges. The shift in military presence could prompt Niger to seek stronger ties with other global powers. Emerging global players such as China and Russia have shown increased interest in the Sahel region. Niger might explore new agreements or partnerships with these countries to balance its international relations and enhance its strategic positioning. To have an even bigger picture, let's understand what the base transfer signifies within the broader historical context of African nations managing foreign influence. The transfer of the U.S. military base in Niger is part of a larger historical narrative of African nations seeking to assert their sovereignty and manage foreign influence. The legacy of colonialism left many African nations grappling with foreign military presence and influence. The colonial period saw foreign powers establishing military bases to control and exploit African territories. Post-independence, many African countries sought to remove these influences and assert their autonomy. The base transfer in Niger echoes this ongoing struggle for sovereignty and control over national affairs. Since gaining independence, African nations have navigated complex relationships with foreign powers. The presence of foreign military bases has often been a point of contention, reflecting broader struggles for self-determination and control. The base transfer in Niger highlights these challenges and underscores the importance of balancing national sovereignty with external pressures. Recent trends in African geopolitics show a growing emphasis on regional solutions and partnerships. African nations are increasingly focusing on enhancing regional cooperation and reducing reliance on external military support. The base transfer in Niger aligns with this trend, reflecting a desire for greater self-determination and control over national affairs. The future of African sovereignty will continue to evolve as nations navigate the complexities of global influence and regional dynamics. The base transfer in Niger offers a glimpse into this evolving terrain and highlights the importance of supporting African-led efforts to achieve stability and development. As African nations continue to assert their sovereignty, they must manage the balance between national interests and international partnerships, shaping their path toward greater autonomy and self-determination. The transfer of the U.S. military base in Niger represents a significant moment in the country's journey towards greater sovereignty and self-determination. While the U.S. says it poses challenges for regional stability and economic security, it also offers new opportunities for Niger to redefine its strategic position and international relationships. This shift reflects broader historical trends in Africa's quest for autonomy and highlights the complexities of navigating foreign influence in a rapidly evolving global landscape. As Niger adapts to these changes, its experience offers valuable insights into the ongoing struggle for sovereignty and the dynamic interplay between national interests and international partnerships. The base transfer serves as a reminder of the enduring significance of sovereignty and the need for African nations to chart their course in the face of global challenges and opportunities. Do you think other Western nations should also leave? Is the future of Africa without the West going to be prosperous? Let us know in the comment section. What will happen if the West is wiped out from entire Africa? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.